Hi everybody, so my name's Mike. I am a wild camper, survivalist. I run a YouTube channel and I teach and share skills that I've picked up over many years about survival and so forth. Now today I'm doing a prepper video, and it's not really a prepper video, but it is a prepper video. So this is aimed at the ordinary Joe, the ordinary guy, the ordinary family at home. This is some tips and ideas for you guys to think about. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but I'm just saying it's one of those things that's worth thinking about, to the point where the UK government has actually put out on their website, which is behind my head there, some advice. And I'm going to take it a little bit further for you from some practical knowledge. Now, where do I take this knowledge from? Take this knowledge from a friend of mine that won't be named, who lived in Cumbria, got a knock on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, "You need to evacuate the house, this area is going to flood." And his experience there, which was panic. Get the family out, get the dog, get the missus, get the kids. And then when they got away, it was lots of other things like, "Oh, I wish we had this, wish we had that, wish we'd done this, I wish we'd done that." Now, I'm not going to tell you how to prepare your house as such for disaster, because again, that depends where you live. Do you have a cellar? Do you have an upstairs? Are you in a flood zone? Is it a wind zone? What is the issue around your way? Are you safe from flooding, but you could lose power? So the first thing you've got to do is do a bit of a mental self-assessment. What are my realistic and honest risks and threats? Now, for a lot of us, they don't exist. We're going to be, I don't have a risk. I'm not in a flood zone. My house is secure. Um, yeah, not in a windy area. It's built up. There's a garage up the road, a shop up the road. There's everything around me I need. I'm all good, Mickey. Not a problem. Fantastic. However, every winter in the UK, we get simple things like the water pipes can freeze, the local water main goes down. Okay, you're without water for maybe a day, maybe 2 days. Really, at a drastic push, 3 days. Okay, power could go down. Yeah, frozen lines, wind, so forth. So again, you've got to start thinking practically, how can you make your life most comfortable and best for your family? Now, I suggest most people prep or prepare for 72 hours. Okay, normally in the UK, for the average incident, 72 hours, and the ball is rolling with the government, with the power companies, with the water companies, and so on. Something will be up, whether it's a standpipe, whether it's generators brought in. Within 72 hours, we're normally getting back on our feet. So for the average family, that's what I would suggest you do. Prepare for 72 hours. Now, the next question you ask me is, how expensive is this, Mick? Because again, in today's world, this is one thing we have to think about. It's expense. Costs a lot of money. You know, you can go online now and look at prepper kits. Oh, you can spend thousands. You don't need to. I'm here to tell you, honestly, do not need to. Okay? With the exception of two items on this table, which aren't necessary items, there is probably a total value on that table of less than 60, £70. In fact, I guarantee it's less than 60, £70. Right? And it's stuff that I've built up over a long period of time, and you can even go cheaper than that. So, how do I think about a disaster? Well, for me here, realistically, where I live, although it's never happened, we do get a lot of flood alerts for my location. Okay, now I've never experienced a flood here in 30 years. However, um, we do get a number of alerts, so I tend to take notice of that. So I have actually moved those things I can't replace upstairs. Things like family photograph albums and stuff like that, they're put away up here. So in the event that it does flood, bear in mind my location and the ground around me, it's not going to be more than 2 or 3 feet in the worst case scenario, but it would flood out downstairs. And I have had that through a broken pipe, and know that experience of going through family photographs broken heartedly, knowing that I can never replace these. So again, move those things upstairs, and maybe think about how you store them. Maybe thinking about putting them into a waterproof box, container, or something like that. Even as simple as Tupperware, okay, will protect these treasured items from water. So again, that's the first step, is that self-assessment. What is my risk? How can I make sure those things that I can never replace are going to be safe. Now, at no time do you ever put your life last. Your first requirement at all times is your wife, your children, your dog, you. You know, so if you're given the order to evacuate, I would always say to evacuate. Get yourself out of that zone, that area, the risk, the danger. You're not always going to be able to do that. My wife's disabled, so for us, evacuation might not be as easy as we think. We may be in a situation where we shelter in place. So we'll talk about that. Sheltering in place. How can you prepare your home for simple sheltering in place? Well, the first thing you need to do, you need to go around your house. You need to know where all your windows and doors are, how to lock them. Do they have the little keys in them? So that if you had to get out through a window, could you? If you had to open a window so the fire brigade could get a ladder to it, can you? I see so many people lock these windows and take the little keys out. Then that is a mistake. If it's got the key in it, nobody can open that from the outside. Make it so that it can be accessed. 2, know where your water stopcock is, know where your gas cut-off is, and know where your electricity cut-off is. If it's flooding, one of the things you want to do is you want to be able to turn the gas off, the electric off, and the water off. And the reason is they will all become damaged, contaminated, or a risk of fire through the flooding. Okay, so you need to shut those down and put those in the back of your mind. So this whole system is based about having no gas, having no electric, having no water. So you think that applies for flooding, power outage, any scenario you can really think of. So food and water. Water is essential for life. It's one thing that we do need. Now, I'm not going to get into filters, filtration, water purification here because we're talking about preparing your home. Okay, stuff that you can have and put by. So, one of the things, firstly, is water. Now, there are 2 types of water. Easy to remember: dirty water and clean water. Now, if you're in a flooding scenario, flushing toilets and things is a bit of a nightmare. It's a bit of an issue. If it's not serious flooding, you can take dirty water from water butts and things like that. Bear in mind that it's probably contaminated. A bucket of that chucked down the loo will get rid of your waste. But you're going to need clean drinking water and water for washing. Okay, so when I say water for washing, it's those essential things like cleaning out pots and pans. And again, these things must be kept clean, or you're going to make yourself ill. Okay, but you'll learn to use small amounts of water heated on your gas stove and then used to scrub things out. So, and I will go through some tips at the end for ways of avoiding things like that. So let's start. That's 1.5 litres of water, 1.5 litres of water. For me, and for most human beings, that is not enough to sustain you through a day, even taking it easy. You actually want 2 to 3 litres of water. That's quite a bit of water per person per day. However, buying it in bottle form isn't that expensive if you do it over several months. This stuff will store. Keep it out of light. This will store for yonks, okay? And it gives you a clean, safe drinking supply. Okay, it's not contaminated. You can use it. You can go to it. The other tip I'll give you is bottles that you can handle. So again, my wife's disabled, so go for bottles that's small enough for her to handle. Don't go for 5 litres and things like that if nobody can pick it up and pour it. You don't want to waste things. The other nice thing is by going for a 1.5 litre bottle or even a litre bottle, and 500 mils in some cases, you're only using what you're needing at the time. So you're opening it up, drinking it, or making a drink with it, and you're not unsealing bottles. Once you've broken the seal on this bottle, it's no longer not contaminated. If somebody then goes to it and they've been outside, got dirty hands, wipes the top, I see it all the time, people wipe the tops of bottles and then drink from it. They never think, where's their hand been? They're putting contaminants on there before they put it to their mouth. So that's just a little thought. Water then comes to hygiene. So when we talk about hygiene, it's simple. Wet wipes and hand sanitizer. The one good thing that came out of COVID was the realisation of how effective and how handy hand sanitizer was. So, and again, hand sanitizer at the moment, There is so much out there, and it's not that expensive. So pick yourself up some hand sanitizer to put in your kit. Wet wipes, even the cheap ones, can be used to clean cups. They can be used to clean yourself and for personal cleanliness. So that's water. That takes me next to food. Now, food's a personal choice. Okie doke. Now, as a survivalist, I try and keep it simple. I have friends that use dehydrated foods, rices, pastas, and things like that. Great, wonderful, but you need to remember that you're going to have to up your water storage if you're going to do that. Okay. Personally, for home, for prepping, I tend to go with tins. I do back it up with a couple of little pastas, and these are the instant ramen noodles because again they don't take a lot of water. Or you can even add them to a tin of beans, and if really comes to push to shove, you can eat them as they are. Not very nice, but you can. It's carbs. So sort of things that you could I'm not telling you have to. You could think about keeping. We like a soup here, so a tin of soup. You know, tins of soup, wonderful. Many different flavours, types, and varieties. And again, don't necessarily go for the expensive brands. Okay. One of the issues with buying the expensive brands of stuff you really like is you tend to not keep it in a store. You tend to use it beforehand because you suddenly think, "Oh, I fancy that tin of tomato soup with basil." Whereas if you bought the cheaper soup, you tend to look at it and go, "Not till I really have to." Okay. There's an Irish stew there. Again, good little one pot meal. And I will say, not the greatest, but it's a good little one pot meal. Baked beans. Can't go wrong with a tin of baked beans. Okay. Um, peas. So when you're coming into your veg, you've got to think realistically how you're going to make a meal. Okay. So I can have peas with pasta, the noodles, a tin of tomato soup, cook that all as one. Bit weird, but it will work. And again, in these situations, you're just 9 times out of 10 looking at getting warm food into people. Jar of coffee, coffee to water. It helps to keep you awake, keep you alert. It will give you that little bit of edge when you want to. And again, don't you necessarily get the ones that you really, really like. Get a cheapie, stick it in store. If it goes out of date and goes bad, which, let's face it, if you've not unsealed it, it shouldn't. If it's a cheapie, you're not so worried about it. Okay. In my kit, I also like to keep things like a jar of strawberry jam, sugar, energy, young people, right? So you can have a jar of jam and a rice pudding, tin of rice pudding. Now, there's not many of us that don't remember the pleasure of having a hot bowl of rice pudding with a dollop of jam in it. Okay, spaghetti hoops. If you like your curries, tin curries. Okay, again, makes a meal. Now, so let's put this down sensibly. Me and Kaz, a main meal for us, one pot wonder. Tin of peeled potatoes, tin of minced beef and onion, tin of beans. Throw the whole lot in a pot together and heat it through. It doesn't need cooking, it only needs heating through. Okay? Not the greatest meal in the world, but it would keep you going, fill you up, it would give you energy, it would give you resources, and you're definitely going to be doing a lot better than somebody that has nothing at all. So again, that's how I think of food. You've got to have some morale. So I always suggest keeping things like boiled sweets on hand, Haribo if you like Haribo, things like that, because again, it's a pick you up. It is something that's going to make you feel a little bit better. It's also sugar. You're going to be in a high stress situation with a lot of worry, a lot of concern. It's a form of shock. Okay, so you need to counter that. And things like tin fruit, wonderful for that. Now the other bonus with all these tins is there is no liquid required. Okay, no liquid required. So my water resource is not being depleted. There we go. We're off of that one. So put those down there. Stews are a wonderful thing in a survival situation. Always see pictures of people cooking food, things on sticks over fires. I'm a big stew man. It's an easy way of cooking food, sterilising food, making sure it's safe, and giving you a good hot meal. Don't forget your little furry friend, your budgie, your canary, your parrot, whatever. You've got to store some stuff for them. So for dogs, cats, things like these foil packs are absolutely wonderful, small, light and efficient. And again, if I was putting together a go bag in case I needed to be evacuated or I needed to evacuate with the dog, okay, food for me and the wife's not going to be too much of a problem somewhere else, but for the dog it might be a bit difficult to find, and a dog can't always tell you when it's hungry. So a couple of small sachets like that just thrown in the bag, it's enough to keep them going. So you've done food and water, Mick. What are you cooking on? Well, I'm not going to stick on it for too long because it's a simple system. There's my fuel, okay, little camping gas canisters. Yeah, they're not the cheapest, but they're also not the most expensive system. Simple gas camping stove for at home. Okay, lives in its little box. It's easy. Yes, it's only one ring. You could have two if you wanted, but you'd have to have more gas. It's one ring. Stick a pot on that. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I've got the pots in the kitchen. It's the other thing to remember. In your home, you haven't got to worry about bedding. You haven't got to worry about pots and pans. You haven't got to worry about a kettle, if you've got a metal kettle, that is. Because you've got all your supplies around you. You've got your meds. Now, you've also got your freezer. Right? Something we always forget, fridge and freezer. So right at the beginning of the problem, you've probably got 2 days worth in your fridge and freezer, maybe 3 days worth in your fridge and freezer before that's absolutely had it. Okay, so in actual fact, with what I've got there with my tin food supply and what I've got in the freezer and the fridge, I'm now at 6 days survival. Wonderful. Okay, these little gas stoves, quite affordable. You see them in a lot of the camping shops, in a lot of the hardware shops, places like that. They are brilliant. I've had this one probably the best part of 10 years now. It's absolutely fantastic. And one of the things I've added to that is one of these, which is a heater. And this little heater basically sits on it like that, and all it does is radiate out heat. Now, you're using a gas cooker indoors, obviously you need to think about carbon monoxide poisoning. So, carbon monoxide sensor if you've got one. If you haven't, crack a window. Crack a couple of windows so you get a little bit of a through draft in the one room where you're doing the cooking. Okay? Don't shut everything down, otherwise you might not wake up. But there, so we can now cook. And we can also heat the room if we need to. And remember, you're not going to heat the room all night. You're all going to get into one room, snuggle up on a double bed, kids, dog, parents, the whole lot. Bring in every quilt you've got, warm the room up at the beginning, crash out together. Okay, the shared body heat will help. Snuggle down, be comfortable. So, other things that you need to think about. Obviously, first aid kit. Mine's pretty, yeah, I've got a big first aid kit. Why? Because I've done a bit of first aid training in my time. Build yourself a first aid kit. Don't build with stuff that you have no knowledge of using. It's all great to go out and buy intrabators and all the rest of it. If you don't know how to use it, there's no point in having it. Go out, good basic first aid kit, something that will treat a burn, something that will treat cuts, something that was antiseptic, all that sort of thing, something to control bleeding. Simple stuff. And again, in building your kit, build your knowledge. So my advice to people is always take your kids, sign up with St John's Ambulance Brigade or the Red Cross or whatever organisations in your area. Go and do a family first aid course. Okay, it's a wonderful thing. The knowledge is there in your head for life and in your kids' heads for life. All right, you can all help one another. It's simple, easy, basic learning. Yes, some of these courses cost money, but if you look around, you can find organisations that will run courses either on a very, very cheap system or as a members thing. You can become a member of St John's Ambulance Brigade, go along and attend it. Okay, become a member, go to the events and things like that, get the training. It's absolutely fantastic. You're watching this video, and if you're watching this video, you're already in the prepper mindset. Okay, in fact, you probably are already. You've probably already got a med kit, first aid kit. You've probably got a fire extinguisher somewhere in the car, wherever. Okay, you've bought a raincoat. Is that not prepping? Just in case. So again, it's just extending that mindset. And now, I didn't learn this now. This is something that was passed on to me as a kid. I lived in a rural area. My mum had a larder for the winter that was always stocked. We had spare candles. We had an open fire. We were lucky in them days. But we were always prepared just in case. Okay? And again, it's one of those things. It doesn't take a lot to put a few bits by. You don't have to do it all in one go. So, other bits of kit that you already have that are essential to you is your mobile phone. Okay? The world does not move without these things these days. Okay? Most of them only have a short lifespan, so it's worth investing in a power bank charger. Okay? And keeping that charged. Okay, that will charge my phone a number of times. And the actual phone I've chosen, because of what I do, I've chosen something with a very, very powerful battery that will last me. I can get 7 days out of that phone if I go down to battery saving mode. So again, that will not just charge my phone, that will charge an iPad, it will charge lights. Okay, so if you've got lights that charge on a USB, you can charge them off of that. Simple, small, efficient, helpful piece of kit that will help you. You can then scale that up if you wish to. Excuse me, moving around room. You could scale that up. You could go with a power bank. This is a 350 watt all powers power bank. It's not the most powerful. It was the one I could afford for doing my camping and that. And as you can see on the front of there, it does 12 volt USB Type C at 240 volt and 110. So again, I pretty much run whatever I want on that. Lighting, charging things. It's a great bit of kit. It's not big, it's not bulky. I charge it once every 3 or 4 months. Give it a top up charge. There's my power indicator on the side there. As simple as that. Now, these are a bit more expensive. I'm the first to admit that. However, for what I needed when I'm out filming, when I'm out doing projects and that, on my base camp, that is a real bonus. In actual fact, it recently on a 3-day camp run somebody's apnea machine for them all through the night, every night, and hardly used up any of the power. So again, it's a backup for maybe those devices that you rely on a day-to-day basis. Another item that is essential is a radio. Now, whether you get a wind-up radio, a bit dust on that one, whether you get a wind-up radio or whether you've got a battery radio, okay, doesn't matter. Just make sure it works. Make sure you've got the battery supplies for it. And it's going to be one of the few ways that you'll be able to get information when these situations occur. It's accurate information. Local radio stations and that will keep you updated. So again, simple radio, FM, medium wave, long wave. Yeah, does the job for me. Lighting. When I was a boy, we used candles. Candles are wonderful. They are great things. They provide a bit of heat and provide a bit of light. Candles, naked flame, inherent risk. Now you can put them in jam jars, but modern jam jars are not as heat safe as the older jam jars. It's down to the silica rating in them. So things like kilner jars work, but again, you put the candle in the jam jar, somebody blows it out. It's a pain to try and relight. So again, candles are okay as an ultimate backup. You've got to be very safe with them. But simple things like a light, torches. That one runs on a battery. This one has a solar panel as well as a USB charger. Okay, it's a great light. Has 3 mode settings and a strobe. So again, all I've got to do is put that in a window. It's going to charge up. Kaz uses it on a regular basis, never had an issue or a drama with it. Great bit of kit. And it's got a USB port on it, so you can actually charge other items off of it. And again, it's got settings. And this is something to come back to on torches. People always have the brightest thing they can. The brighter it is, the more it's going to use the batteries. So you want something that's also got a low setting, because quite often all you want is enough light to get around the room. Okay, enough light to stop people being nervous. And if you allow your eyes to adjust to low light, you'll be fine. Okay, so low light setting. Make those batteries last. A few torches. Great items. I have torches dotted all over my house in strategic points, just in case. I have torches in my kits. The other thing I like, and you can buy headlights. Now this is a slightly more expensive headlight, yes, because I go out and do my bushcraft and survival thing. But you can buy quite cheap and affordable headlights. And in actual fact, at the moment in the pound shops, a headlight that I recommend to a lot of people, I think they're £1.50. Run on 3 AAAs, really powerful LED headlights. They're absolutely superb. In actual fact, have I got one here? Yes, I have. This one doesn't have any batteries in it, but just so you know what they look like. And I have that as a backup. Simple button, on and off. Yeah, £1.50. You can't really go wrong. Yes, it's cheap plastic, but have a couple of those around the house, even if it's just one to give to the kids. Makes them happy. To go alongside your food resources and that, what I suggest people get themselves is simple pack coffees. Okay, coffee white, no sugar for Kaz. Because I do camps and adventures in here, I have a whole selection of hot chocolates, instant coffees with sugar and that. And what tends to happen is I get to the bottom of the pack, I come home from the camp, I've got 2 or 3 left, they just go in that. They just go in there, get sealed up, got them there if I need them, sits at the back on a shelf. Okay, I'm at the point now where I don't need to buy any more instant coffees for months. Again, cheap little lights. Okay, even something like that can be hung up in the bathroom, can be hung up somewhere, gives a little bit of light, makes it a little bit more pleasant and easy to deal with. Now, chance to sit down again. Wonderful. Right, so other bits and pieces that you can throw in, some tips as well that make life a little bit easier when you're going through these sorts of situations. Excuse me, this pan was used for an experiment recently and I near killed it. So, a pan, tin of beans. Take the label off your beans. Okay. Crack the beans open. Always crack the tin open. You need the pressure to escape from the tin. Fill your pot with water. Okay. Boil your water. Now you've got hot water in there that you can use to drink. Okay. Make a brew, tea, coffee. You've got a hot tin of beans. Wonderful. The other thing you can do, especially if you've got small people, you have to be a bit cautious and sensible with it. But you can take something like an hygiene bottle, hot water bottle if you've got one in the house, which I think most of us have. Hot water can go in there, especially if it's cold at night, and you can put together a hot water bottle, improvise a hot water bottle. That put into the bed 10-15 minutes before you go to bed makes life a lot more comfortable. Again, snuggled up. Hot water bottle can be shared between 3 or 4 people under a quilt. It's quite amazing how that heat will radiate out. So that's a little tip. That's a freebie from me. Hope it helps. I've got no label on my tin of beans now. I'll have to indelible mark that. And as you can see, that can's taken a bit of abuse. So there's going to be a video on that soon. So, other things to think about. Now, in this world of knife crime and that, it's one of the things I like to point out to people is I always carry a penknife. Always. All my life I've carried a penknife. I grew up on a farm. I've always had a little penknife with me, multiple tools on it, a pair of scissors, tweezers, and things like that. It's worth having. Okay. Now, you might not want to carry one of these all the time, but it's definitely worth putting in your bug out bag or your go bag or your whatever bag you want. Put it on your key ring, whatever. It's worth having with you. It's got 101 uses. Tin openers. There's tins there. Little pairs of scissors, snags on fingers. You may need to cut something, set something up, whatever. It's worth having a penknife, and they don't have to be some sort of drastic survival knife. In actual fact, I recommend to people just get yourself a little Swiss Army penknife or a penknife with multiple tools on it. They make a lot of sense and a lot of use. We're winding up now, so let's think about this. Yes, we covered meds, water, food, and rest of it. So, yeah, if you're a smoker, okay. Now, I know a lot of people have given it up, managed to give it up. You might be able to use this event to help you give it up. I've gone over to using nicotine pouches, so I've got a spare pack of pouches in my emergency kit. Also handy if I run out one evening and I'm sitting there desperate. Nicotine patches are a real bonus. The sprays, the tablets, all those things will help you. Put it into your emergency kit, okay? You're not going to be able to get your cigarettes or your cigars or your tobacco. So at the end of the day, just having those just helps you keep that stress level down. It's one of those things to practically think about. Now, your home. Your home is your castle. Whether you choose to stay or go is going to be your choice. Okay? What I suggest you do, and again, you have to remember, and I know people are going to say to me, I don't want people knowing there's nobody in my house. Well, if there's no lights on, there's probably nobody in the house. Okay? If there's no torches showing, there's probably nobody in the house. Okay? In an emergency situation, an evacuation situation, if you decide to stay, okay, I put one of those on the front door, and that's in a sealed bag. It's waterproof, and it just says on there the details of who's here and our ages. So that's my name, my wife's name, our ages, plus one small dog. Okay, now that means that, and it says there sheltering in place. They know there were two people and a dog in this house. Okay, they also know the names of the people. Helps them in searching, helps them in rescue, and it also helps them in identification if the worst was to happen. Okay, I also, if we left, would place that on the door, and that is exactly the same thing. However, it just says residents left, evacuated. I put the day, the time, okay, and who we are: Michael Mitchell, Caroline Mitchell, one small dog. I've also added on to that, depending on how much time you've got and whether you can do it or not, power, gas, water off. Okay. Now, the reason you do that, that also allows the emergency services, if they're entering the building, having to come in, search for something, check for something, they know that there's no risk of electrocution, gas, or so on in that building. They're still going to be cautious about it, but it gives them a bit of help, and it also gives them that time. Instead of coming into every single house in the road, looking to make sure the residents are safe and okay, not unconscious, lost, starving, and whatever, that note just tells them there's nobody here. The residents have left. They can leave this house. They don't need to search it. They don't need to come here. They can move on to the next one, to the people that really need help. So again, it's just one of those things. If you had time, just on the door, stuck on the door. It also means that if your friends, family locally come looking for you, okay, and are worried about you, they know you've left, or they know you're sheltering in place. If you said sheltering in place and you're not there, they know to start looking a little bit harder. Something more severe has happened. So again, just some advice, some tips. Now, please don't. This isn't here to frighten anybody. This isn't there here to scare anybody. I'm not one of those that's going to go, oh, it's the end of the world, blah, 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 blah. This is just some advice, so that hopefully, if somebody ever finds themselves in that situation, they got a little bit of help. They got a little bit of, do you know what? Old Mickey was right. We've got 72 hours worth of food, heating, gas, electric, whatever we need, we're okay. And again, in protecting yourself, you're protecting others. You're taking the load off the emergency services, off the rescue services, off the supplies, so they can concentrate on those that really need it. Okay? If it's going to be a 72-hour problem in the UK, rather than sitting there and going, we've got everybody to give water, if everybody was prepared, they could concentrate on that old people's home down the road, the disabled person, the person that's maybe not able to care for themselves, little Granny Smith who lives at the end of the road that's 104. Although she's probably already prepared because that's a generation that was. So again, by having a bit of sense yourself, you're making the whole situation better for everybody else. Okay? And you've got the food that you want to eat. Don't want to be eating army rations. No. So, so other than that, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's good advice. Now, you've got the uk.gov prepare website. That gives you some more in-depth advice and tips. And it also gives you some links to organisations and how to let the local authorities know that you have a disabled person, which puts you on a priority list. It also gives you a series of contact numbers. So in the event of an emergency, you might be the first person that's realised something's occurring. Wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, what's that rumbling? Open the window, local river's burst its banks. You're going to be the first one on there. So again, it gives you all these contacts, all this information. And it's not fear mongering, it's not scaremongering. This is, to me, practical common sense. Okay? We do live in a natural world. The environment is changing and does change every winter. It has done all my life. I don't think I've known a winter where there hasn't been a flood somewhere or a freeze or some sort of impact on the average everyday person. Okay? I just was very lucky to grow up with some very practical parents who lived in a rural area that taught me what their grandparents had taught them and their grandparents had taught them. And really and truthfully, at the end of the day, we shouldn't be calling it prepping. We should just be calling it common sense. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you want to pop over to the channel and see a little bit more in depth with bushcraft, survival stuff, trialing gear, camping, wild camps, that sort of thing, please do. If that's not your sort of thing, not a problem. But if this has made sense to you, let me know. Okay, if I've done a video that you think's worth doing, let me know. And should I do some more? Maybe I should go into some bit more in depth in some home common sense cooking, should we call it? Yeah, that sort of thing. What can you knock up on a little gas cooker at home? Let me know in the comments. Anyhow, guys, wherever you are in this glorious world of ours, have a great day. If you can get outside, get some fresh air, do so. It's good for you. Yeah, get outside, have a walk in the woods, walk the dog, go and play with the kids. Yeah, it's autumn now. Look at the colour of the leaves, it's fantastic. Okay, enjoy yourselves. And if you can't, have a look out the window. Breathe deep. Stay safe, everybody. Have your adventures. Love those you do. Forgive those you don't. And as always, peace and light be upon you all. This is Mickey, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival, wishing you an absolutely fantastic week. Stay safe, have fun. Mickey out.